Yo, everybody. I am Zach. This is Expanded Understanding. Uh, it is very good to see you this evening. That music at the beginning was actually something I've put together that I actually did live like this morning. I think it was this morning. Nevertheless, I've been playing a lot with like live looping a bunch of samples that I've been creating, collecting, tweaking, etc. And actually, this whole set ended up being significantly longer, but I just kind of like took an X script out of the end of it because I particularly liked the last track and where it ended because it kind of had this, it had this vocal loop inside of it that said, "I can't believe we've come this far." And I would really like to say, like, I can't believe we've come this far. In many ways, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing out of society at this point in time, and especially what I'm seeing out of like the people around me. I see like so much growth happening, and well, really just like so many people, for lack of a better word, waking up to reality. And so, like, really for me, it's always been about kind of like blazing the trail ahead of what everybody's doing. But if everybody's ready to pull up into this time where, they want to set up autonomous zones, they're seeing, that the government maybe not working best for them, all these kinds of things. They're looking to take their own sovereignty and shit. We're going to be coming thick and fast with a lot of things to do that. But, like, number one, what we're going to talk about is basically like focusing on your dreams and making sure that you're focused on the shit that you want to create. Because this waking up, that what we're waking up to when we see these kinds of situations with like, oh, the media is telling us this story, or we have Hegelian dialectics being played out in politics or anything like that. The reason why they care to control what you're seeing, the reason why they care to control what you're hearing, is because what creates your reality is actually your perception of what will be created in reality. And so it is very important that we focus on the right things. And the primary way that we can do that is through creating expressions of ourselves, creating new ideas, creating new plans, new vectors for places we want to go to in the future, things we want to see, things we want to experience, and very much so like doing this stuff, well, with the music, right? Like this over the last 3 months has been like a huge expression mechanic, I guess I'll call it, for myself. It started talking with like kind of a mentor of mine. I'm not going to go deep into explaining how he fits into my path, but he is a very important person to me. His name is Lee Purcell. And he kind of like, he actually brought something up to me about like writing some haikus because he believed that I would benefit from something that had benefited him, which was basically expressing himself in an art form, but having structure to that art form. And I'm very into rhymes and words, and I like, I like the twist of the tongue probably more than the next guy, very much so. And so, like, I really like, yes, I am quite aware that the music is lightly playing in the background. I think it sounds great personally, so hopefully it sounds the same to the other people listening. I can't hear necessarily what you hear, but, I like it anyways. So if my voice is not far enough in front of the music, then it's a problem. It fades out on its own sometime after a long time. I was literally like so happy with what had just occurred inside of my space and basically the rabbit hole of ideas that it created inside of my mind going into the future. And that's kind of what I'm already talking about right now. That literally after I got to this part and the song was playing as it is playing right now, it's actually in the process of fading out currently. But as it was in basically the end that you heard of it the whole time, like I literally walked outside and was just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, like I started working with the program that you use to do this, which is called Ableton Live. I started working with that program long time ago, very early in Ableton's history. And when I first started working with it, like I kind of had this grandiose idea that a lot of people are really bringing to life now with the people like the Reinhardt Burrs, and there's a guy named FKJ. He did a really good song with a guy named Masago. I'm not sure Masago or Masagao, Masegow. And these guys and many other people, a guy that I would personally like to give a shout out to, even though he's not nearly as popular. His name is Manatee Commune, or Grant Eddy, out of, I think it's Bellingham, Washington. Nevertheless, what they were doing was basically creating musical samples on the fly and then collecting those in some type of program like Ableton and then layering them over the top of each other. So they were functionally just creating, they were doing the one man band, but with the modern technology to be able to apply like a whole studio's worth of effects, synthesizers, all the things you could ever possibly want to do basically on the fly. And so there is like another layer to everything that I want to do with that, and how that really like correlates to talking inside of here is very much so like it's always important to like focus on your dreams. Even if you like you accomplished one, really like the next best thing to do is like think of another dream and do that, right? Like if you really like the thing that you just created, just make it bigger, you know? So like I'm always thinking about this kind of space that I want to create for a really immersive art experience, basically. And really, when I say art, I really mean like just this huge combination of light, sound, and feeling happening all in one place for this perfect conjugation of the ultimate immersive experience. And one thing that I thought of today that I'm not going to go into all the particulars of it because in many ways, like I don't, well, there's some reasons why. And I will explain the reasons why and spend more time talking about the reasons why so that hopefully you could take something from this and basically apply it to your own life and to focusing on your own goals and how you approach even maybe, accomplishing those goals and things like that. So, nevertheless, like the kind of idea that falls out from this is to create an even bigger immersive experience, kind of marrying some of the things that we have been showing them sometimes on the stream, like these visuals and stuff, but in a better production, basically. And then also like audio, but really done in like a really unique way. And there's some people who have kind of like touched on this, but I think it's something that we definitely, with the right conductors, is something that could definitely be done live. And it's very much so like a kind of a new format of an orchestra, but also with an immersive visual experience at the same time that is aligned with the sonic or audio experience that you're having as well. So you really get that. I've come to find over my recent research uh, that people really like it when an audible thing and a visual thing happen at the same time. So it's really a lot about like leveraging this, but nevertheless, the real focus is dreams as an abstraction. This is simply my dream, right? And nevertheless, when we're focusing on these kinds of things, people have started to adopt the term of like where the attention goes, the energy flows. Well, when we first early come into adopting that term, we think of it on basically, and this is how it goes with learning and really anything. We think of it in a small way, right? When I was young, I thought about things as a child, and as I got older, I thought about things as an adult, right? And this is a kind of a paraphrase, slight change of a kind of like a quote, right? That I don't even remember who. Doesn't really matter, but it's actually very real. It was somebody random, like Alice Cooper or something super weird, but it's very true. The point is that when we first engage something, the applications that we see from it are not the whole of the applications that actually exist inside of that thing. So much like our goals are predicated on how we see ourselves. And so we project ourselves to a point into the future, but that point in the future is basically at the limit of what we can imagine for ourselves. And if we really focus on these things in the right way and really put our energy to the right place, we end up getting to these places. The energy goes where the attention is, right? What is this telling us? What this telling us in a bigger way is the thing that we're focusing on is what ends up becoming our reality on a very, very, very real sense. However, you're thinking about it right now, bigger, right? And maybe you're saying, oh, this guy's pretentious. He thinks I'm not thinking about it in the biggest way. It's not that. It's that I think it's a legitimately infinite application. So the best way to approach it is that however I'm thinking about it now, there's even more ways that it applies. It's really up to me to find them. And that's part of the fun. But what this really ends up looking like is that we establish these kinds of like dreams and such for our reality. And the more that we can keep ourselves aligned with exactly what that is, the more we navigate to a reality that is exactly like that. The reality that we end up in, we talk about the reality being a matrix, right? But it's a matrix of what? We apply that as basically some kind of simulation theory, but maybe it's a matrix in the sense of what a matrix really is, which is like an array of numbers, right? And so it's an array of data. And our current experience very much so becomes created by how we got there, right? And the path that we took. The concept that might be inside of your wildest dreams might seem like a far distance away, or maybe even like on the brink of fucking impossible from where you are right now. But when that's you being like functionally young inside of that idea, as you focus on that and age that idea more, put more energy towards it, it grows. You get closer and closer. It starts seeming less impossible. It starts now seeming possible, but very difficult. And then you continue to go down this. A lot of people here watch Jen's show. Jen very much so does a thing called the Feldenkrais method. This is based off a guy named Moshe Feldenkrais. Moshe Feldenkrais kind of had this concept built in there that we're basically making like the impossible possible, the possible easy, and the easy aesthetically pleasing. And it's kind of the same idea with all formats of learning, right? Like it starts out seeming absolutely impossible, and then it seems possible but very difficult, and then it seems like you can do it and it's actually quite easy, and then you add flourishes and nuance that really like make it your own, and it's aesthetically pleasing. And this happens with virtually all kinds of learning. This happens with literally just accomplishing a new format of yourself. The more that you keep your perception focused towards that and not towards this other shit that may be somebody else. I don't care whether they're a globalist cabal or they're your next door neighbor. Literally doesn't matter. Literally does not matter. People give you the opportunity to focus on things. What you choose to focus on out of the matrix of things that we're focused on are the things that actually get pulled into the future. It's never the fault of the person who gives bad advice. It's always the fault of the idiot who is stupid enough to take it. Okay? When someone gives you a bad piece of advice, that does not make you do that thing. It is up to you to run that through your own logical discernment, and on you to take that responsibility that you're taking every piece of data, be it advice, be it a TV show, be it a newscast, be it a fucking murmur that you heard through the wall while you were sitting in the bathroom at some random place. I don't care. Any piece of data that comes in, to take that and apply that through some kind of discernment filter and determine what? What are you trying to determine with that? Are you trying to determine whether that is or is not the truth in terms of is that the actual right thing to think? Really, in terms of your own experience, you're determining whether or not you're going to incorporate that into your truth, right? Whether you are going to choose to believe it or leave it be. That's always your opportunity in the moment. The more that you can sculpt your ability to manage the incoming data from your experience, the more that you will have control over the outgoing projection of your experience. What's the outgoing projection? Every single thing that you experience. Literally every single thing can be mapped back across the same path to your own psyche and see that it is functionally a projection of your mind. And as a byproduct of that, that means that realistically you are always sculpting the position that you are in. Said easier, exactly where you are right now is exactly where you want to be. Accepting that in yourself requires a little bit of I'm not doing the perfect thing I could be doing for myself. This is not the life of my dreams. But it also gives you the potential to now hold the space of responsibility that is actually capable of creating exactly those dreams. So maybe you won't be in that position for very long anymore. The other space resides effectively in a place of delusion where it says, I would have my dreams, but there's these things that I have no control over. These are the truths that I am choosing to believe instead of leave be, that are holding me back from believing in the reality that I would like to leave this one to be. So perhaps leave them be instead, unless they match exactly what you believe you would like to be. And take the time to discern that. Jen says sometimes make every decision like your life depends on it. This is not because you're trying to put a lot of pressure on yourself. This is because you're literally sculpting the step in front of you that you are going to take in the moment after this one, with the step and the perception of the step that you are taking in this moment. That is what will lead you to the next moment in your life. This abstraction may seem like it's rudimentary and simplified, but the simplified application of that means that you can apply it to everything, and that's why this is better. This is the rule scientifically of Occam's razor. Occam's razor functionally states that the simplest answer is always the most right one. If there's 5 answers that are functionally right, then the simplest one is the one that you should go with because it will have the broadest application. And that's what's really most important. Your life isn't written inside of some book that you can go download or buy somewhere. Amazon does not have the answers locked inside of one of the many books upon its digital bookshelves. That is not where it lies. Something may exist there that would cause you to understand or read yet another page of your own story inside of your own life and continue to unfold this story, but that story can really go any way that you choose to it to go. Is it making you out to be the hero? Is it making you out to be the victim? Are you perhaps the fool? Perhaps you're the forlorn lover that cannot possibly find the things that they want. Perhaps you are the very powerful king who abuses their power. Which role do you play when all the world is a stage and all of the formats that you could possibly be, all the people, are merely players? What do you choose to play? And are you actually choosing to play, or are you taking your role extremely serious? Because either way, whether you are choosing to be the jester or you're choosing to play the comedic mask, you could also choose to play the tragic mask. You could also choose to be, you can be your own liberator, or you can be the victim of your own oppression. This is a choice that happens in the exact same space. The question is, do you perceive yourself making the choice? And if you do perceive yourself making the choice, do you understand why that choice is the one that you are actually wanting to make? Or do you blame that on something outside of yourself, as though reality is in some way oppressing upon you some format of what you have to be? Perhaps you only have to be whatever you choose to be, and then it doesn't have to oppress anything on top of you. It sounds like a significantly more effective system, and it seems, when used, that it actually seems to function exactly like that. There's plenty of scientific and spiritual correlations that one can bring for reasons to attach to this, but you will find those on your own after you hear things like this. Inevitably, when you go through other data, if you've chosen to actually take the time to listen to what I'm saying right now, and you choose to actually incorporate that in any way into what you're doing, then you will inevitably contemplate this as you go through other things in your life, and you will start asking yourself more regularly, why am I choosing what I'm seeing right now? And is that what I want to choose? And then kind of beyond that, what can I best choose in this situation to give myself the best chance of having a situation I do want to perceive that is closer to my goals in the next moment? It is very important to always stay aligned with this inside of yourself. People talk oftentimes about like getting in touch with their true self, whatever, getting in touch with their higher self, coming into connection with their heart, living in their heart space. These are all synonyms. Or maybe even you could call them pseudonyms, because they're functionally pseudonyms for this function, that you are choosing to align with what you really want and not utilizing some type of excuse, be it a blockade inside yourself or outside yourself, for why you cannot accomplish the reality that you want to live in. If you really truly believe that you have a higher self, or that you come from source, or that you're an infinite being, or that you're one in the all, do you seriously believe that you're so weak that you would be limited on what you could turn your human reality into? That is quite preposterous. You can turn yourself into things that you couldn't possibly imagine that you were ever going to be. I've seen it happen thousands of times inside of my life, sometimes for the positive, sometimes for the negative. And, you can choose to perceive those either way, but really all they're showing in the function is that so much is possible. So much is possible based off of how you choose to align your thoughts. And it seems that output is directly linked to input, and garbage in, garbage out. So you got to mind your consumption, but not just your consumption of whatever you're eating. Like, this is just one format of looking at it, not your consumption of who you're interfacing with. This is just one format of looking at it, not your consumption of what kind of data you're talking in, or where you're spending your time on the internet, or what kind of, or if you are watching news in any way. All of these things, it's all consumption. Your entire experience of reality, you simply looking upon something, or hearing it, or feeling it, or smelling it, this is all consumption. You're consuming your entire reality, and how you perceive that reality determines whether or not what came in was garbage. But if you put garbage in, man, you're going to get garbage out. You got to figure out how to basically abort this cycle. Alchemists talk about this as a format of transmutation. Take a base material, the garbage, and turn it into gold when it comes out the other side. How the fuck do we do that? Right? How do we do that? Well, the primary answer is by always focusing on turning it into gold and not limiting yourself on your ability to do that. Do what it takes. Do the step that is the current portion, the current placement in the alchemical process. You can understand it through this metaphor and about 1,000 others. In order to do what it takes to overcome the current situation that is in front of you. You know? Don't tell yourself why you can't. Tell yourself why you can. The only reason why you ever cannot is because you have attachments. If you are a completely unbounded string interfacing with other unbounded strings, no matter how much you twist and roll around each other, if there is a requirement that both of them keep going forward, like it is their choice to continue going forward, then these two things cannot possibly not. It is impossible for them to not. Only when they become attached at one or more ends and then start functioning in the right way can they actually not. So really, it's when we choose to attach ourselves to some type of belief, we choose to bound ourselves into functioning some type of shape that we must be. And then based off of our bounding into that shape, we believe that we cannot. You can't not. You can only make yourself not. You, what you really are, true you, not attached, doing what it wants, which it will do in the long run anyways. The not will resolve itself. It always does. Then it can. That's what it does. It is an infinite creator. It can. It does not not. So I urge you to detach yourself from your belief of what you can and cannot and start focusing on what you want and keep your focus on what you want. Discern your reality, discern the data that's coming in all the time, and make sure that it is being incorporated or integrated into your being in a way that helps you get to where you're trying to go, not provides some kind of limit, some kind of restriction. Don't ask yourself why this is happening to me. Ask yourself why this is happening for me. How is this happening for me? What is this helping me gain that I need in order to accomplish what I am trying to accomplish? You can't accomplish anything. You just probably need to change from what you are right now. And you're totally fine with that. You know, you can accomplish being a millionaire. Well, you'd have to change from a person who does not have $1 million in the bank account to having $1 million in the bank account. You're fine with that change, right? Well, what if there was some other changes as well? Are you okay with those changes? Can you make those changes? Because if you can, you ain't getting no $1 million. That's the contract. You know, we talk about these past life contracts, all these kinds of contracts that we sign. You sign 50 billion contracts every moment that you go through life when you take every single piece of data that comes in and you basically contractually agree to how you have perceived, integrated, and thus further projected that piece of data. You make contracts constantly. Are you managing them actually? I mean, you don't really need to manage them on a bit-by-bit basis if you kind of manage them with an overarching structure that I'm incorporating things that get me closer to my goal, that get me farther along the vector that I'm trying to travel. And I set that vector in the distant future in the form of functionally a goal, something I'm trying to accomplish, something I want to be, whatever. An identity that I am not right now, but I would like to be later, what I am not. You just pick one. It doesn't matter which one you do. Have a heyday with it. It's a good time. So if we choose to actually focus on this thing, and when I say focus on that, I don't just mean think about it all the time. I mean realize that like all of the energy that's coming into my reality is going to be converged and then pushed towards that thing. I'm going to purposely make sure that every experience I'm having is going towards the thing that I am focusing on. So whatever's happening to me is happening for that end. It's my job now to find out how I can utilize that to further my aim. You will notice some dramatic results inside of your life, the reasons that you have not accomplished the things. And when I say this to you, I say this to me. And I'm looking at myself while I say it. That's why I'm not looking right into the camera. The reason why you have not accomplished the things that you want to accomplish is because you have been in your own way. And it's okay that you've been in your own way, because the restriction that you applied to yourself was exactly the tension that you needed in order to get you to the place that you needed to be right now, which is exactly the right place still. So there's not even anything to forgive for. Never actually did anything wrong. Did everything exactly right. And that's exactly why you've been here. You know about what you know now. And if you're hearing what I'm saying right now, you know that you're at a point where the restriction left inside of your reality is you. It's never outside of you. It is always you and your ability to transmogrify or otherwise transmute the data into something that goes towards the things that you want and not towards the things that you do not want. Stop focusing on hell, and you might find out you already live in heaven. So, yeah. We can all be happy, like, if we choose to, even though there's problems. I care that, like, some people aren't treated right. I don't care whether they're black, red, blue, orange. We want to say the Black Lives Matter, like, whatever, dude. Fine. Yes, they do. I agree with that statement. I agree that the Black Lives Matter. You know, the world's not perfect, but that doesn't mean that we can't go through the situations that we have right now in a way that is coherent and unifying, not divisive. But first, we have to unify with ourselves. First, we must come into coherence with ourselves. First, we must make sure that we are focused and authentic on what we really want to happen. That's what brings us into the position where we are able to come into the space where the self-ordering takes place and there's a space for everyone and the energy is abundant. But everything fits in. They don't have to change and shit. They have to be understood. They have to be given their space to be what they are so that they can better understand themselves. They need to be accepted, loved, as you might like to call it. Humans like the word love. I think it has gotten very, very confusing, that word. And in my dramatic, very romantic as well, efforts to try and understand what the fuck that word means, I've come to realize that functionally it mostly means coherence. And coherence is a fucking choice. And that's why love is infinite, because I could choose to have love any fucking time I want. I can love me. I can love you. I can love the microphone in front of my face. I can love the food that I ate a little while ago. I can love the people that made it. I can love the people who provided the space to eat it. And I choose to love all of them and more because it's infinite. And it feels better than being very mad about it and treating it like it's all divisive. It feels better. That's the reason. No other reason. You don't need logic. You don't need science. You don't need spirituality. You need to stop for a fucking second and feel what feels better and go that way. That's the secret. You don't need all kinds of secrets. You don't need all kinds of pathways. You need that one. Stop. Feel what feels better. Go that way. Only apply your logic to figure out how to go that way better. That's all it's for. It's for fun and effectiveness. Use your logic to make riddles. Use your logic to solve fun puzzles. But know that there ain't no puzzle to solve. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. If you could do that, you've solved life. It might not feel like it right away, but give it some fucking time. You live in a place where you believe that things have to happen gradually. So give it the time. Give it 21 days to become a habit in your life. Give it 90 days to make it a way of life. Give it a year if you're actually committed to wanting to actually fucking change your life and be what you can be. Just that. It's one thing. How hard is that? Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. Don't be scared. Go that way. Don't come up with a reason why you can't. Go that way. Don't come up with an excuse, a justification, nothing. None of that shit. No reason not going that way. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. Very easy. No special equation to remember. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. Your life will get better. Your life gets better. Other people around you's life gets better. They ask you, how your fucking life getting better like that? It's even making my life feel better. You're like, well, it's pretty easy. You just stop. You check which one feels better. You go that way. And then their life gets better. And then the people around them life gets better. And you're one of the people. So now your life just got even better. It just backflowed on you. Constructive feedback. If you are not leveraging the mechanic of constructive feedback to enhance your life, are you really actually even trying? Do you know what I mean when I say leveraging the function of constructive feedback to make your life better? Have you figured out how to utilize the difference between you and another person to enhance the rate at which your manifestations come into reality? That's what I'm asking. If you haven't, stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. It will teach you. You will teach you. You will know that you do not need a fucking book. You don't need a teacher. You don't need a master. You don't need a guru. You don't need a fucking plant or a pharmaceutical. You need you. Why did you stop taking care of you? Why? What's the fucking reason? Is that reason good enough? It's not. You know it's not. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. Don't go down some fucking pit of sorrow because you just realized that, maybe you haven't been doing the best for yourself. Stop. Check which one feels better. Is it better to go down a pit of sorrow or better for me to look at that situation and go, fuck, I can actually do better than that. I definitely can do better for that. Why am I not showing up with myself? I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to go that way. That sounds a lot fucking better. You stop. You check which one feels better. You go that way. You go that way fucking hard. Stop being afraid, dude. You're literally afraid of becoming your wildest dreams. It's ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous. Inside of my life, I don't say this because like it's some mystical fucking concept that I believe in the future. I've made myself into whatever the fuck I wanted to be like 7 times and then purposely destroyed it because I think it's funny. I've watched 1,000 people around me, some of them with my help, some without my help, make themselves into exactly what they want to be. I don't believe this because it's mysticism or because I read it in some fucking book. I believe it because it's boots on the ground. I watched it happen in front of my face, both with me and a bunch of other people. You can do it. It's very simple. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. No question. There's not a rush to get anything done, guys. You ain't trying to get to the finish line. You're trying to enjoy it right now. The answer's always going to lie right now. So don't be in a rush. If you get to the moment where you really enjoy it and you're in a rush, it might go by too fast. Be ready to be very slow when the time is right, and be ready to be very fast when the time is right. Do not be either the tortoise or the hare. Understand the story. You are both. You are also the race. No, the audio didn't go out at all. I left space. There's no rush ever. We always have a minute for ourselves. We have an entire infinity for ourself. Ourself is infinity. So of course you have infinity for yourself. Why are you in a rush? Where are you trying to get? At the end of the path that you are going down, you will find that you are all things and that you are all experiences and that you go on forever. Where are you trying to get? Why do you need to get there fast? It's not the place that's fun to get to. It's going in between the places. Once you get to enough places, you will recognize this if you do not already recognize it now. But if you choose to recognize it now, you will find your life be much more enjoyable, especially if you stop, check which one feels better, and then go that way every time you have a question about where you are going in reality. Don't consult your guru. Do not consult your book. Do not consult the tarot. Do not throw bones or pull runes unless you have asked your own heart and it says, the tarot will tell me exactly what I need to know, then by all means go and pull a fucking card. If it says I need to call Zach, Zach will be able to tell me the answer that I need to hear, then call me. But when you call me, I talk to you about jumping Matchbox cars off of a ramp into a river, don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Figure out how that was the right choice, because your heart already told you the right choice. If you figure out which one feels better and you go that way, you do not go the wrong way. And then you don't need a guide. You can simply interact with everybody else. We don't have to be teachers and students and mothers and daughters and fathers and sons and kings and peasants. We don't have to be this anymore. We can be just a bunch of people fucking hanging out, checking shit out, seeing what it's like. You don't need that shit. That shit is made out of these beliefs that some people are going to get to some place where they're at like the fucking end or whatever. It's ridiculous. I actually have a video that I'm going to play. We don't have to subscribe to this at all. And I'm not saying that you need to stand up, revolt, and change the fucking world. I'm saying that if you look at the world different, it'll fucking change for you. I say that because I've watched it happen. I honestly don't even like this answer, if you can call it that. When I first started going down this path, my whole point was to prove all of this stupid shit wrong. Everything we ever talk about. Star seeds, connecting with slug consciousness, being able to like discern and define and create the reality of my dreams, constantly guiding myself that really reality is a thought projecting outside of myself, and I'm really only ever experiencing a format of myself. I didn't even want to believe that when I started walking down this. I came into all this to prove all that shit wrong. And like the only thing that I proved was it further, because me wanting to prove it wrong was exactly what got accomplished in some weird backwards format of itself, where it proved that I was wrong through the reflection of reality that it was, by proving me I was wrong. Like it still hardly even makes sense to me now how I even got to this place. But it's like we're 20 years down the world or the whirl, really, the fucking vortex or whatever you want to call it, a vortice of turbulent flow with a thin shred of laminar flow, always changing size and shape, that is itself immersed inside of turbulent flow. That is life, man. That's life. And where it started out as like, I didn't even want to believe all this. Is too much responsibility. Too much responsibility to do all that shit. I'm not even interested. I'm going to prove how all these people are wrong, and that actually all of this is discerned, and it basically it's not discerned here, though. We don't got no interface with that. Unfortunately, I'm reporting back from the frontier of my own path of discovery to say what I have found so far along my vectors is that I was completely wrong. Heretofore, it was all me doing this to myself, and that has actually created the most amazing, brilliant reality that I could have ever possibly not imagined. And I invite you to come check it out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of ways of doing it, and I think all of them are possible, but this one kind of substantiates that belief and is also a very enjoyable way to live, especially when you end up getting it. It's been working for a while. You've made a lot of decisions based off of checking which one feels better and then going that way. And you made more and more and more of those, and you go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of following your heart. You will progressively find that the deeper you follow your heart, the more and more love you are surrounded with. And it looks all kinds of weird ways, and they are all very exciting. And the tunnel twists and turns, but it's always giving you a nice, pleasurable hug. And so, by working on ourselves, and moreover by working in groups, segue to the video that I'm going to play here in a second, we can very much so discern what reality we are moving into. Maybe we won't hit it with 100% accuracy. Maybe we won't get exactly the reality that we designed. But if we put in the energy, we will get very close. And the part that we don't get, we will be able to look at those results and see how in the next moment we could do even better. Because the percentage that we are off from hitting exactly that we wanted, and the clearer that we are about what we want, the better we will be able to discern that percentage that we are off. Will tell us exactly how much time we spent focusing on shit that wasn't exactly what we wanted. And then we'll have mathematical proof of how much we fucked up. But if we focus on the right place, we will get pretty damn close, my friends. It ain't that hard if you fucking focus on what you want. You take a second to stop for yourself because you care about yourself. If you don't care about yourself, maybe you care about the world. Do it for the world. Take a moment for the world. Stop. Check with which one feels best to you. Go that way. Very simple mantra. Stop. Check which one feels better. Go that way. Very easy. Every decision will be made better from this.